Join us in your Ladbroke shops for the best offers for Cheltenham 2019. Every day of the Cheltenham Festival, we're offering best odds guaranteed on your multiple bets from 9 a.m. right up until the first race at 1:30. That means if the price drifts, you'll be paid out at the bigger odds. Ladbrokes, your home of the best value for the Cheltenham Festival 2019. Over 18s, T's and C's apply.
Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for March 8th. March Madness is here. This is my favorite podcast of the week with Rob Veno. We're breaking down Saturday's college basketball slate from a Vegas perspective. Robbie, happy Friday to you. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am good today, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. It's a fun time to be a sports bettor. It's Friday heading into the weekend, and I've said it many times. Saturday during college basketball season, as far as mainstream sports go, I think it's the best day to be a sports bettor. The most advantages are on our side of the fence. Does that make sense, Robbie?
I think it does when you consider that there's always over 100 games. That makes for 100, better than 100 sides, better than 100 totals, over 200 things to choose from. So it's difficult when all 33 conferences are going at once for odds makers to be right there on everything. So, yeah, certainly it presents advantages that maybe you don't get on – well, in fact, that you don't get on shorter cards for sure. So Saturday's a big day. Tough to keep track of, Drew, but that's why we're here, to keep track of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robbie, you're throwing out some volume, man. Just yesterday, you had 7 plays, went 4 and 3. You're throwing out a lot of volume every day as far as college basketball and the NBA. We also got AAF, the new football league. All Rob Veno is he's handicapping all 3 of those sports. So went 4 and 3 last. You've had some good days. You've given some back on some days. But overall, how do you feel like you're seeing the college basketball betting boards?
Yeah, and you're right, Drew. There's been a few days these past couple of weeks where we've given some back, and those things, when you go 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year like we do, you're going to get those where, like last Saturday where VCU and Richmond combined to miss 20 free throws. And when you have a total and you're just watching people stone free throws, but they happen. You stumble upon those games at times, and certainly there's been a few of those for us the last couple of weeks. But last night on the right side of the law, and a couple scraped by with totals, got there late. So, those things are 50-50 and they all turn. And it's certainly after last night and even the night before, I feel like this week has gone a lot better as far as seeing the things and getting the results that you're looking for. So sometimes, Drew, I'll say this, sometimes because we are proactive as bettors, as handicappers, we see something, we try and get out ahead of the curve before everybody else does. And sometimes, I've been doing this a long time, sometimes you're out in front of the curve too quickly. And you have to repeat the play until it finally kicks in. So there's a lot of intricacies to betting when you're doing this 365 days a year. But the facts are the facts. The college basketball has been about 54-55% for the season. The NBA has been 57-58% for the season. So those are season long. Those are good numbers.
And you can follow Robbie on Twitter at RobVenoSports. I agree with you, Robbie. It's a tough time as far as if you lose on a team, but you feel like you got the right read, but your bet lost. Come back on them the next time. Sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes it's tough to do, but it will pay off in the end if you really do have the right side on a team pinned a certain way. But, Robbie, it's conference tournament week. It's starting now, and we have a special coupon code for the podcast, CBB69. That's CBB as in college basketball, the number 69, easy to remember, CBB69 for the next 7 days, all access. It includes all the plays that Robbie Veno will release, AAF, college basketball, NBA, CBB69 gives it to you for just $69. So, Robbie, let's start off here towards the top of the card, and shout out to AJ387 on Twitter. He was recommending a bunch of games. We'll hit on most of them here, and one of those games he wanted to talk about 617, 618, the number 5 ranked Tennessee Volunteers at the Auburn Tigers. And, these are Saturday's games, guys, so it's only 4:30 Eastern on the East Coast, so 1:30 Pacific on Friday as we're talking about these games. So the numbers I'm throwing out, actually BetOnline just posted these numbers, so they really haven't even been touched yet. And we're seeing Tennessee -1 on the road in the Plains. 149 being the total, Robbie. This is a Tennessee team, going for a number 1 seed here into Auburn, Alabama, which it's a tough atmosphere. I'll tell you, Rob, firsthand, that is it's a heck of a stadium, a heck of a college basketball stadium. Bruce Pearl has got something going there at Auburn, even though they've had some rough outings where they haven't looked like a top echelon team in the SEC. I think they do have the talent, they do have the coaching, they got the atmosphere in that arena. I'm not sure that they're a better team than Tennessee, but it's a competitively priced game here at -1. How would you look to bet the Vols and the Tigers?
Yeah, and when you have these big conferences like the SEC, Drew, and you get crossover games west to east, east to west, as we have here, Tennessee out of the eastern side, so to speak, and Auburn out of the western side, you don't have a previous matchup to go back and kind of research and see what happened first time around. So this game's going to be new to both sides coming this late in the season. Where Kentucky was an absolutely horrible matchup for Auburn, you and I talked about that game on the podcast either last week or the week before. These days go by so quick I lose track, but I remember us both agreeing that Kentucky's defensive ability and the way they pound the boards, it was going to be very difficult for Auburn. And I think Tennessee's a little better matchup for the Auburn Tigers here. Not that Tennessee is not a good defensive team and not that they don't have guys that can hit the glass as well. Certainly in their victory over Kentucky, they showed that they could reverse what happened the first time. But Auburn, we know that they like to go quickly. They like to shoot threes. And Tennessee's not against getting up and down in a track meet with teams. So I think this matchup probably suits Auburn better than the Kentucky matchup did. The reason why I compare Tennessee and Kentucky, of course, they're the top 2 teams in the league. So that's what I'm going to gauge Auburn on here fundamentally. I think they probably have a little bit better matchup. Bruce Pearl, we talked about it, Drew, that he thought his team was ready to turn a corner, and it's been kind of sporadic, the results for this team, and a lot of it has to do with the in and out of the lineup nature from center Austin Wiley. Out for a while, comes back, just starts to get into a bit of a groove. Auburn has a rim protector. Auburn finally has somebody they can throw it down low to. Gets hurt again. They have to be cautious with him. That kind of non-cohesive play, so to speak, has kept Auburn to where they are, 10-7 straight up inside the conference. But like I said earlier, even without the height, I don't know that they'll get killed on the glass by Tennessee. I don't know that they'll be slowed down. I'll say this. The one thing we have seen over the course of the last 3.5 weeks out of Auburn is teams that want to be methodical with them, teams that are offensively slower pace, slower tempo. You slow Auburn down, and it's troublesome for them. They have not performed well in a lot of those games where the tempo has just been pushed to a snail's pace. So hopefully for them, they can at home dictate a little bit of that tempo and not allow Tennessee to do that. I don't think Tennessee will. I kind of lean toward the Auburn side here, Drew, tell you the truth. I think they're good enough at home, especially you mentioned the home crowd factor. I made Auburn a 0.5-point favorite. My power ratings show that, so I think that this game is virtually a pick-em. Haven't played the game. Obviously, lines aren't up, but we'll look to see where this goes and where the total goes in this game and maybe have a play from there. But right now, I would say lean toward Auburn.
Robbie, do you know how the SEC scheduling works in college basketball? Because since they did away with the divisions, it's just all one. I'm looking at Auburn's schedule here. They played Kentucky twice. They played Georgia twice. But like you're saying, this is the first time they're playing Tennessee, I believe. So do you know how that works as far as who you're playing on the East and the West, even though there isn't really an East and a West division?
Yeah, and I think it kind of works the same way that football does, Drew. You'll play. I mean, they did away with East and West, but they play their Western foes, if we're just using our football divisions, twice a year. And then there's 3 crossover games, I think, which vary each and every year. So where you'll get a couple of games against the Eastern teams, 3 teams in particular. So Tennessee was not one of those this year. Next year, maybe they are. But it's just a thing of rotation. That's all it really is. And for Auburn, Kentucky was up twice this year. Tennessee was not. So, like I say, it's kind of crazy to not see a team inside your conference till the very last game of the year. I mean, this is it. Next week is conference tournament week, so it'll be interesting. And especially for those listening, take away from this game something at least, because you may see this matchup again next week in the SEC tournament, and you'll have something to fall back on. Granted, the SEC tournament will be played on a neutral floor, won't be played at Auburn, but fundamentally some of the stuff that goes on tomorrow you might be able to apply to a handicap next week.
Good point. And you were just talking a bunch about Kentucky. We got Florida at Kentucky. Next game up, 6-3-1, 6-3-2. This one, 2 p.m. on CBS Saturday. We got a low total here of 128.5. It's the Florida Gators. They're not going to play fast. Kentucky not necessarily up and down themselves, but they are laying 12 here. It is in Lexington, Robbie. How would you look to bet the Gators and Wildcats?
Yeah, it's difficult to play this game either way, Drew, because I really don't want that any piece of Florida in a matchup like this. We just got done talking about how Auburn struggled against Kentucky because they're more reliant on the 3 than Florida is, but Florida for the most part is a 3-point shooting team. They're a smallish team and don't have a ton of size. They lose to LSU the other night, 79-78, so I'm sure they're going to come to play. They do play hard, but I just don't like the matchup against Kentucky here. I think Kentucky can ball pressure. We've talked about that relentlessly this year, Ashton Hagans, and we know Kentucky will win the battle of the boards in this game. So it all comes down to whether or not Kentucky can shoot well enough in this game to cover a double-digit number. I don't think that Kentucky will be able to force a bunch of turnovers against Florida. It's a good ball-handling team. Backcourt's, like I say, the bread and butter of this squad. So for Kentucky, you have to shoot the ball. You're not going to get a bunch of, in my estimation, a bunch of breakaway layups to go ahead and put together a huge spurt. And I don't trust Kentucky, to tell you the truth, Drew, to shoot the ball well enough even at home to go ahead and bet them laying this type of number. So for me, it's probably a no play. The total, it seems kind of low. However, like you say, neither one of these teams' first option is to get up and go 94 feet up and down. They both prefer half court. So we could be locked into a defensive battle, as the total indicates here. Don't know which way I would go. Like I say, in the prior game, I at least have a lean towards Auburn here. Really can't figure out which way I would go. I could see either side covering this number, and I could also see the total going either way as well.
Good stuff, Robbie. And guys, we're hitting games from Twitter, and you can follow Sportsmemo on Twitter at Sportsmemo, myself at Drew Martin Betts, and Robbie Veno at Rob Veno Sports. Let us know what games you want to hear every Saturday podcast here on out, and also throughout the week, whatever you're wanting to hear on the podcast, feel free to reach out on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts or at Rob Veno Sports. We also got the coupon code CBB69 for 7-day all access with Robbie Veno or myself, Drew Martin. You can get both of us, just one of us, either one, $69. Coupon code CBB69. Conference Tourney Week is starting. We got 635, 636 in the Big 12, Robbie. This one 2 p.m. as well on ESPN. Baylor traveling to Lawrence to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. 142 the total. Looks like Kansas -9 on the opening number from BetOnline.
Yeah, I would think that number's too high, Drew. I expected a little bit more out of Baylor midweek when they played Oklahoma State, considering the fact that they are now, with the exception of their starting center, who's been gone for the season, played about 14 games and then gone for the remainder of the season. They are now completely healthy. When King McClure came back to fill out that backcourt on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whichever night it was that they played Oklahoma State, Baylor should have been able to play a little bit better. They blew a lead in that game. There's always the case to be made for when a guy's out for an extended period of time, which McClure was at least a half a dozen games, I think, that first game back, maybe the cohesiveness isn't there. But I think it would be there for this game here against Kansas. And these two match up real well. Two smallish teams, no real rim protection for either. Two very tough teams, two teams that can shoot the three, two teams that will go with pace. Baylor's the number one offensive efficiency team in conference play inside the Big 12. So they've been really good. For a team that couldn't shoot a three before conference play started, they have come around. We have a game to lean on here for purposes of trying to gauge how this game will go. Kansas went to Waco. They win 73-68. However, I think you have to put a little bit of a asterisk next to that game, because in that particular contest way back on January 12th, KU was led in scoring by LeGerald Vick, who's no longer with the Jayhawks, or hasn't been with the Jayhawks for a bunch of games here, and there's no return in sight. So without LeGerald Vick's 18 points in that game, a 73-68 Kansas win becomes a 68-55 Baylor win. Whether or not they can replace that, I know KU has had a lot of games without Vic to find ways to recoup those points, but they haven't really done it successfully. Kansas not going to win the conference for the first time in a whole bunch of years. I think they had 14 years in a row. They won't win it this year. And again, just from on the court, fundamentally, what teams do good and what they do bad and how they fundamentally match up against one another, Baylor matches up real well here. I don't foresee them going ice cold from the field here. They won't be intimidated by Allen Fieldhouse. KU can win this game. I'm not saying Baylor's going to win straight up, but 9 points to me seems awfully high in a game where there's two mirror images. Kansas is not right now lighting the world on fire. We have Bill Self actually, I'm not going to say making excuses for his team, but in that post-game conference the other night, you could hear him when he was talking to reporters say that he thinks what they have accomplished this year should be commended because of all the setbacks that they have had personnel-wise. I don't disagree with him, but you read between the lines there, and he's telling you, we're not as good as we used to be, guys, and we're going to lose some games here. So for Baylor, I think you'll get an all-out focused effort on the road. KU, I think you'll get a focused effort as well. My power rating showed Kansas to only be favored by 6 at home in this game. So to me, 9, if that's what we get here, that's a little bit padded, and I would be more than happy to take 9 with Baylor.
That makes sense. I mean, just the number being high for all of those reasons, Robbie. And we're going to hit the Big Ten. We also got a AAC matchup as well. But, Robbie, we got 649, 650 up first. Michigan State, battle of what? Big brother and little brother, so to speak. 134.5 being the total. And it looks like Sparty laying 4 in East Lansing.
Yeah, and for a share of first place, I guess here, I think Purdue would be the outright winner if they go, or they would win the tiebreaker if they end up 16-4 with one of these two teams is going to finish 16-4 after this game. So it is for a record share of first place here in the Big Ten Conference. And for these two, they had an earlier meeting as well. We don't have to go that far back. February 24th, just a little over a week and a half ago, these two play. Michigan State wins it 77-70. Michigan was favored at home in that game, but it was MSU who came in and shot for them, lights out, 24-48 from the field, 50%. They knocked down 24-30 free throws, 80%. Didn't do a great job from three-point range, but they didn't need to. They win a 77-70 game. Saw the game, Drew, but I went back and checked anyway. 77-70 with Michigan involved would immediately trigger a thought in your head that this was a higher tempo game than what we are accustomed to seeing Michigan play. But it really wasn't. 62 possession game here. So it was just the fact that Michigan State made a ton of shots. They had a ton of free throws. They scored 24 from the free throw line. And the same kind of went for Michigan. Didn't shoot 50% from the field, only 40, but they too went 17 of 20 from the free throw line. So the 77-70 was still a slower paced game. Not a lot of extra possessions. Michigan State is a team that wants to get out and run. We saw that the other night against Nebraska when they were at home. They scored 90-plus points, and they got out and ran against Nebraska. Michigan's not going to allow you to do that. This will probably be slower tempo like the first game was. The big loss here is Charles Matthews for Michigan. Didn't play last game. Probably not going to play this game. I'm not going to say won't because he's listed as doubtful, but the ankle injury looks like it's going to hold Charles Matthews out. One of the best defenders for Michigan, one of their veteran leaders. That could be costly here on the road. This is another one. It's a difficult game to gauge. I show Michigan State power rating wise as a 3.5-point favorite. But unlike the 147 points we got out of these two the first time, I don't think that's coming here, Drew. And I missed, if you said it already, what the opening total is on this game. I know Ken Palm is showing it to be in the 134 vicinity. And if it's around 134, I think you might get an under here. I just don't see that 147 happening again. These two teams had a chance to look at one another. Michigan defensively is going to correct that 50% from the floor that Michigan State shot against them. Maybe not as well as they could if they had Matthews in the lineup, but they should be able to lower that 50%. They've got a fantastic defense. So I think for my liking, the side wouldn't be what I'd prefer. I think I would prefer to play this game under the total if, in fact, it is in that 134 area.
Yeah, I'm seeing 134.5, and actually it looks like a minus 115 towards the over. So I'm guessing they opened it at 134.5, and they took one bet towards the over. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that this could be an under as well. I mean, two teams. Do you think two teams seeing each other for the next time favors the under or favors the over, Robbie?
It depends, because I'm always of the opinion, Drew, that coaches will always fix what went wrong the first time. So if this had been a 60-58 the first time around, I think that both head coaches, Izzo and Beeline, would find ways to get more points on the board this time around. But the fact that it was a 77-70 game, I think they'll be defensive-minded. And, if we just take some of the situational things in this contest, which we always have to do, again, it's for a share of first place in the Big Ten. So to me, that makes possessions that much more important, especially if it's a close game, second half, about 6-7 minutes left, you could find 3-minute dry spells. So I think this game situationally as well as fundamentally sets up as a game that won't be as high scoring as the first one was. And at 134.5, we're asking the final score, if we split it down the middle, to fall 68-67. And to me, I think we'd be more in the 65-62 vicinity. So I would look toward under here.
And we got another game or two left, guys. The coupon code CBB69 get you Robbie Veno or myself, Drew Martins, next 7 days, all access at sportsmemo.com for just $69, so less than $10 a day, using the coupon code CBB69 at checkout. Robbie, what about a team heading into conference tournaments or the March Madness 68 tournament that you're looking to either bet on or fade? Would you throw out like a team like I'm throwing out there Nevada? I think Nevada's overrated. They don't have a true point guard. I mean, they do have talent. However, it's just down the stretch here. It's not a team I'm looking to bet on. I think that they'll be kind of seeded a little bit too high, maybe a 4 seed or so. And I could see a 13 seed knocking them off. I could see round 2 exit for Nevada. Do you have a team like that you're looking to fade, or a team that you think's undervalued in the markets going into conference tournament time?
Well, just taking yours real quick, I would be on the same side as you. I've watched enough Nevada basketball this year, and the power rating has started to come down a little bit. I don't think that I guess you could say they're a little bit overvalued, but I think the problem for Nevada is you don't get any consistency on offense out of this team. You get a consistent defensive effort. They're going to give you defense every single game, and they're very good at it. But offensively, and there's plenty of nights where they go out and just shoot blanks, and they don't stop shooting. And when they're not on, it's a tough night for them. And we've seen a couple of those in conference play within the last couple of weeks. So for those reasons, for that reason in particular, I think that Nevada might be a team you could go against. You have to take the other stuff into consideration with them. They were 2 in Elite Eight last year. It's the same group of guys. Once you get out of conference, teams don't know you as well, so on and so forth. But I could understand the reasoning for to play a team or against a team like Nevada in the NCAA tournament, because they do come with such a heavy price tag and have come with a heavy price tag all season long. I think when we look at mid-majors, let's just go that route, Drew. Mid-majors that maybe could make a bunch of noise. It's no secret that Houston is a team that a lot of people like, and Houston could be a team because of the defense that they play and their ability to shoot threes. I think once again, a team like Buffalo could be somebody you look at because they had the experience last year and have the same group coming back again this year, much like Nevada does. But if we really dig deep, I would say we're going to see a team tonight out of the Southern Conference in Wofford. And I have Wofford rated, believe it or not, Drew, power rating wise, Wofford would sit in the upper echelon of the Big Ten Conference this year. A 14-team conference. I have Wofford power rated to where they would be the 6th best team in the Big Ten. That's a team that, is going to come in with absolutely zero fanfare. You're going to see a guy named Fletcher McGee over the course of this weekend that can really shoot lights out. And they have a host of guys that can shoot three-point from beyond the arc. So I think that's a team really, if you get good prices with them. Obviously, I have them power rated high, so do odds makers, but I think that's a team that could make a lot of noise inside the NCAA tournament because, like I say, once you get out of conference, and especially a team like that, a little team like Wofford, guys, the teams don't have a ton of film on you and don't necessarily know how to play you. By the time they figure it out, a half is over or maybe 30 minutes is over. So maybe Wofford for me would be that team.
And where do you think they'll be seated? The Wofford Terriers from Spartanburg, South Carolina. They're ranked in the top 25, I believe, right, Robbie?
Yeah, they made it inside the top 25. That's something that generally I know we don't pay attention to, but I did happen to read that this week, so I do know that they made it in there. But they probably could make it as high as maybe they could make it as a 10, Drew. Potentially, I don't think they would get – I just don't think that the committee would make them anything under double digits. Maybe they could get to the 9 line. We'll see. If I did it just simply by power ratings and Las Vegas odds makers and us as bettors and handicappers who keep power rating numbers, if we seeded the tournament – then they would be inside the top 36. They would be a single-digit seed, but I don't know that they're going to get there. And that's, better for them. They're going to get involved in a 7-10 game maybe where a lot of the public money would come on the 7, especially if it's a Power 5 team, and Wofford more than capable of upsetting people, no doubt about it.
I could see him being that. I could see him also being a little bit better seed, maybe being the 7 seed, at a ranked 25. I don't know. It's a tough aspect, and wherever they land, I'll be looking to bet on them, not against them.
Yeah, no doubt. Their schedule will be held against them, Drew, but truth be told, the Southern Conference is a good conference this year. And Furman's a really good team. East Tennessee State's a really good team, so we can't sell that short. And even if you take a look at Ken Palm's conference rankings, you'll see the Southern Conference on the left-hand side, which is the first 16. I think they're as high as 10th, maybe 11th. So it's a conference that's really underrated, a conference that's been really good, maybe a shade top-heavy with those first 3, and then NC Greensboro 4. But, Yeah, I could see them doing some damage, no doubt about it. They don't get rattled. I mean, I've seen them play 4 or 5 times this year. They just don't get rattled, and I don't think they'll be rattled by a big stage.
Robbie, we got one game left. Guys, remember the coupon code CBB69 at checkout. 7-day all access for just $69, less than $10 a day, and that's $50 off the retail price at sportsmemo.com. Coupon code CBB69 at checkout for 7-day all access. We got Tulsa, Memphis in the AAC 707-708 late night degenerate special, and it's not even on the West Coast, Robbie. 155.5 the total, 8.5 Memphis laying at home.
Yeah, and I tell you, they're coming around at the right time, Drew. Here's a team that we talked about NCAA tournament. Let's just narrow that focus down to the American Athletic Conference tournament, which is coming up next week. Memphis could be dangerous. They've climbed the power ratings over the course of the last couple of weeks. Penny Hardaway has them coming along at the perfect time of year. And their style is so disruptive. And again, if you're not used to playing them, and Memphis hasn't played this way, this is a first-year head coach who came in and, changed the philosophy. So when they get out into whatever other postseason tournament they're in, their speed will shock some people or some opponents, and by the time you can recover, it's kind of like, if we can use the football comparison, Drew, it's kind of like trying to simulate an option team in practice, and you just can't do it if you're not an option team. And then by the time you play a half of football and you're down 17 points before you even figure out how to defend an option and how quick it moves. So that's kind of like what Memphis would be for people. I really love the way Penny Hardaway's got them coming around. Full court pressure. They can run for days, these guys. They're very well conditioned. They've got a star player in Jeremiah Martin. And Frank Haith's team, the Tulsa side, has been on again, off again all season long. They've put up some really good efforts, including the first time around against Memphis. They win this game 95-79. Tulsa chose to run with Memphis. Not only did they run with them at home, but they almost hit the 100 mark. Memphis will remember that. Memphis is a lot better team right now than they were back on January 30th when they played this game the first time. The player I mentioned for Memphis, Jeremiah Martin, their star player who can shoot lights out. He's just a natural scorer and a very good shooter. But he only had 14 points in that first meeting, goes 1 for 7 from 3-point range. At home, those numbers are going to turn around. And to me, Drew, Memphis is like that snowball that's starting to build and go downhill to the point where it's really going to get rolling. So I would play them. I wouldn't. Let's put it this way. I would not play against them at this point in time. If you don't play them tomorrow against Tulsa, I would look to play them in the tournament. I know that this conference is top loaded with Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati, but Memphis is capable of beating any of those teams and very capable of getting those 3 teams out of their comfort zone. So for me, Memphis is a team on the rise, and I would, if I had my choice tomorrow, I'd probably play them over Tulsa, especially at home in a revenge situation.
And a caveat in the AAC, the tournament's in Memphis, right?
Yeah, they get it at home in FedEx Forum, which is, it happens for a few teams across the country, but them to be in a, they like to say that it's the Power 6 and they're number 6, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt. For a Power 6 team to host a tournament generally doesn't happen. They will this year, so people have to come to knock on their door, and they're going to be a very tough out.
And they actually play in the FedEx Forum? Their home court is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that is weird for a power conference to have that, but no, that would be a fun conference tournament to watch. I mean, you got Cincinnati, you got UCF, you got Houston, you got Memphis, you got Temple. Are all 5 of those teams going to make the tournament? Memphis isn't going to make the tournament, are they?
They would have to make it to the, I would say they probably have to run the table. I was about to say they'd have to make it to the championship game if they're impressive enough with, they can get some very good victories in that tournament. You can, where they're going to come from in that tournament where their seed is going to be. They could get through maybe a UCF and a Cincinnati. Those would be two very, very big wins. So, reality is they probably have to win the whole thing. But the other reality is that bubble this year is so weak, Drew, that they're having a hard time even finding 68 teams to qualify. So anybody who gets hot right now and has a run, when that committee, you can't take the human element out of these guys. They see that last 10 games. And if Memphis puts together a really nice run, maybe they can. Who knows? A lot of things would have to go right for them across the country with other sides, but I don't think they're close right now. They would have to win the AAC tournament, in my estimation.
And, Robbie, this weekend, it's snowing where you are. What do you got on tap for this weekend?
Yeah, it is snowing where we are, Drew, here in southeast Pennsylvania. Cold weather. But, yeah, tomorrow in fact, tonight we have a play up right now in college basketball. Tomorrow be a 5% play. Going to try and get that up tonight, Drew.
You should.
To get extra time for guys and for clients to get the good side of the number here. And, of course, AAF play. Don't forget about it. We haven't had a chance to talk about it this week, but very, very involved there. A couple of things to look at, including another quarterback switch in that league. Drew, your guy, Philip Nelson, formerly of East Carolina, playing so well for San Diego, suffers a broken collarbone. Now he's out for San Diego. Mike Bercovici from Arizona State back in, and maybe that sets San Diego back a little bit this week. So if you buy the week of service, you're going to get some AAF thrown in there with us. If you're watching the football the way I am, by all means, go ahead and purchase and wait for your AAF plays.
Bercovici was good, though, in college. I don't know how that, goes over to the AAF, Robbie, as far as, college performance to, I guess, just the AAF in general. But Bercovici, you could throw it around at Arizona State.
There's no doubt about it. And I know I'm going to tell you what he's known for best so far in his young AAF career. He is the guy who week one took the hit that knocked the helmet right off his head. Now, he lost his helmet about 4 times in that game. That highlight was shown over and over again, kind of promoting, in the AAF, we allow quarterbacks to get drilled. But the fact of the matter is, Bercovici is a guy who doesn't really fasten that chin strap. So it came off about 3 or 4 times in that game. The hit was not, what it was played up to be on our highlight shows on television that night. But that's what he's known best for right now, is he's the guy who took the hit that knocked his helmet off.
Well said, Robbie, and great breakdowns on the college basketball slate. We got tomorrow's slate. Check out sportsmemo.com. Bunch of plays going to be up tonight and tomorrow. Get in early, get the best of the number. Conference tournament weeks are upon us. CBB 6-9 gets you the next 7 days of service with Robbie Veno or myself, Drew Martin, for just $69 using the coupon code CBB69 at checkout. Robbie, thanks for the time, guys. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. Have a safe, fun weekend. We'll talk with you on Monday. Best of luck with your bets.
Cheltenham Festival is here. And so is another big BruceBetting.com racing special. New and existing customers. Place a bet on the first race each day of Cheltenham. Get your money back as a free bet if it loses. Stay close to the action with BruceBetting.com. In-store, online, and on your phone. Bruce Betting, giving you more. Please gamble responsibly. Cheltenham Festival is here. And so is another big BruceBetting.com racing special. New and existing customers. Place a bet on the first race each day of Cheltenham. Get your money back as a free bet if it loses. Stay close to the action with BruceBetting.com. In-store, online, and on your phone. Bruce Betting, giving you more. Please gamble responsibly.